This episode is brought to you by the RVA Podcast Network. Find more information at rvapodcast.org.
It's a new year, so you know what that means. That means a new season. It's season 4. Intro a little revamped. Microphone a little revamped. Branding a little revamped. We are now officially the Past BT. So welcome all Spotify, Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and all podcast platforms. Here you're going to get a flavor of sports, music, tech, video games. Once in a while, we'll get an Ass of the Week and a new part that's going to be coming in. It's not mentioned on the season 3, but we do what's called Pass the Message. So definitely you want to tune in and get some good content on the Pass with your host, BT. What's going on? What is good? Episode 299 of the Pass is here. I guess I was a little slackish on numbering because I did look and realize that the image done for episode 298 had the wrong numbering scheme breakdown. So I do, want to make sure I'm here to give good content and give good information. So my bad on that. Hopefully it won't affect you all's enjoyment of this episode, which I will make sure we'll have the correct numbering. Based on that information, or based on where we are, next week on the 19th, we should be reaching episode 300. I'm indifferent if I want to do the episode on Saturday, but I did make a commitment, or I am looking to make a commitment where I plan on recording, getting back to my regular routine of recording shows every week, because I do miss doing the weekly shows. And it also helps because if I haven't done a show in a while, we get these type of episodes that are supposed to be one amount of time, but then it ends up being a longer period of time due to just how the recording flow goes. So I'm just doing that. Bear with me. I'm getting some stuff added back in because I went back to move forward to get back to what I'm doing. So this is going to be kind of like that raw but rough, still solid recording. If this is your first episode, welcome. If you are a returning listener, I'm going to come with the good show, with the good content. The title is going to be a little different. And this will be probably one of the first times that I think the title and the image will correlate. And you'll see what I mean when we get to that. First things first, before I do have my angel number ready. We'll get into that in a moment, but I want to make sure, because I am following my outline since I haven't been doing that in a minute. But if you do want to pay it forward or do a kind gesture, if you go back, I believe it was episode 296. I'm going to confirm that while I am talking. So just briefly converse amongst yourselves, and I'm probably way back. So yeah, let's try not 296, but episode 287. I will put a link in the show notes for that episode. But on that episode, I did have Ramona Ragland on, and she did promote her book, Ugly. As of today, that book is officially out. The book you can purchase it on Amazon. You can go directly to her website, RamonaJosette.com, and you'll be able to order a copy of the book. So I will put both a link for the book website as well as the actual her website, and as well as the podcast itself. Definitely one of my more unique podcasts, because as I've said, now with learning how to do recordings and get in the flow of doing this, it's very freestyle, and you'll see what I mean when you listen to the show. But I am promoting or talking about her book because, well, one, we both just celebrated our birthday on September 4th. So shout out to my fellow twin, and also to all my other 9-4 babies. Happy birthday to all of y'all. My roommate, aka Fred, Mel, who's been the little big sis for the longest, Melanie, who I didn't get a chance to talk to this year for our birthday, my boy Brandon, who has been like the creative addict. That's kind of my nickname I'm giving him. And any others who celebrate their birthday. I know I don't mention him, but he's pretty much known me probably longer than anybody that I've mentioned on this list. But shouts to Norman, good friend, good guy, literally knew me since I was younger. And I definitely want to give folks a shout out as possible. 4 minutes in and we talking, but yeah, I'm mentioning her and mentioning those names, mentioning everybody because I did, not last week, but the week before, I did order a copy of her book. So I am waiting for that copy to come in. Definitely, you know, supporting Black owned. That is definitely the new wave. So that is kind of where we are with that. So without any further ado, let's get into our regular schmegular, which we like to start off with our numbers and what the numbers mean and what the relevance are of those numbers. And since this is episode 299, we're going to go ahead and get into our angel number for 299. 299 is a sign from angel number 299 is a sign from the angels that represents adaptability and cooperation. The angels are sending you a message encouraging you to be more helpful and embrace your surroundings. So you may have a peaceful time. You may be in a period of transition right now. You're on unfamiliar grounds and this is making you impatient and constantly irritable. The angel's message to you is to learn to accept and adapt. Angel number 299 is a symbol of conviction and assurance. Believe in yourself, believe in those who are in your life, who influence your life positively. The ministering angels believe in you and are saying to you to trust in yourself. They want you to have faith in yourself much more than you are doing right now. Angel number 299 has digits 2 and 9. The number 9 appears twice in the angel number 299. This doubles its energies. This is a sign that you need to be more positive in your life. Often you are faced with situations that leave you wondering your purpose in this life. Angel number 299 is a sign of positivity. Begin to encourage yourself when faced with hard times. Begin to surround yourself with people who are competent and full of positive energy. Harmony is fondly associated with the angel number 299 meaning. Number 99 shows that you're in a time of your life where there's a lot of chaos in your current environment. Maybe it is the town or village you live in. The angel numbers are sending you a message to be a peacemaker by leading the community you are in into living together in harmony. These actions will create an environment not only for you, but for everyone around you. The angel number 299 symbol is a sign of talent. The angels can see how talented you are. You can see how talented you are. Your friends tell you how talented you are. Angel number 299 is a sign that the world needs your talent and it's time for you to bring it out. Angel number 299 is a sign that you need not be afraid of. You will not be disappointed as the world is ready for you. In summary, remember the double 9 in angel number 299 displays double of everything. Therefore, as you work on your life, remember to make the double effort in all that you do. And it's very, very interesting because I definitely can say from personal experience, this has been the month. Well, I ain't even like, you know, we have, like, I've been doing my planning and I've been following the Knowing Your Why theme. And the theme for this month has been Why I Like Green, which I will likely get into because I think I have not been doing my Know Your Whys. I might have skipped that on my personal blog, but we'll get to that hopefully. And my friend who does planning with Sharice did mention the relevance of the month to remember. But this has been a year to remember, especially in looking at creative, being able to design, do whatever it is that thing is that you love doing it. I threw some ideas out to someone of something that I'm considering trying to do. I don't want to talk on it too heavy publicly. I've shared it privately with those who need to know. One of my messages or pieces of information to share is to not give more information than you need to. But if it's worthwhile to someone who can help you in getting to that next level, to utilize that. Before we get started on our shows, I do want to give a shout out to Marquita Bianca. I'm probably going to be mispronouncing. I'm freestyling heavily today, but that's not a surprise when I'm involved. But yes, it is Marquita Bianca. She is, as I would like to call, a new member to the podcast community. She did just start a new podcast, which I think is going to be awesome. And the name of the show is called You Better Work. And that is my intro and or spiel to that. I guess I will put a link for her podcast in the show notes as well. But she did give a couple of tips to work on. Those 5 tips, which I'm going to mention them, and she's going to give more in-depth analysis on her show. But they are leveraging your contacts, creating a position that brings a value, develop a unique skill, over-deliver for staying power, and collaborate for job creation. And I'm sharing that because one of the biggest things has been learning how to develop a unique skill. And I think lately I'm learning my unique skills in various manners, not just from a physical aspect, but a mental aspect. And that's just kind of what I'm going to go with on that. All right. So we are going to go ahead. I promise that I'm going to do some sports. Y'all about 10 minutes in, and I have like dodged every possible story to make it clear that we are here. And the bubble season, to summarize, I don't have any actual bubble stories per se, other than wow, a lot of teams got swept. Philadelphia got swept by Boston. Miami swept. I don't want to forget the team, because whoever it was, it still was like a shocking L. I know right now we have Toronto and Boston are playing, still active in their matchup. And as of right now, Miami is still ahead against Miami knocked off Milwaukee as of this podcast. And I know I'm doing something a little different, so I'm going to be a very, very free-stylish podcaster today, since I have not been as organized as I normally am. And that is not me trying to attempt to do an accent, because whatever accent it was trash. Let's see. So Miami beat, and I guess it's good to give these L's first to kind of get you to where we are now. Toronto did sweep Boston. Toronto swept the Brooklyn Nets, which we're going to get to a story about them. Boston swept Philadelphia, which we're going to get to a story about them. Miami swept Indiana, which we're about to talk about in a brief moment. And Milwaukee beat Orlando on their end. And then on the West, you had the Lakers beat Portland, Houston beat OKC in 7, Denver beat Utah in 7, and the Clippers beat Dallas in 6. For Luka Doncic's first playoff series, he did a hell of a job. But I mean, you're playing against the Clippers, and we know Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are probably the most intriguing front court / quote unquote two-way players that we're watching right now. So that's kind of put us where we are right now. Going forward to the next series, the next matchups, LA is currently ahead of the Rockets 2-1. The Lakers are ahead of the Rockets, rather. The Clippers are ahead of Denver 2-1. Miami did knock off Milwaukee, as I mentioned earlier. And Boston is ahead of Toronto 3-2. Boston and Toronto play tonight, as well as the Clippers and Denver. I think I got all of those updates done. So right now we do have Miami as one of the conference finals teams. The other 3 spots are being filled. Me taking a wild stab in the dark, I think the Lakers will probably win their series in 6. The Nuggets, unless barring something crazy, I think the Clippers are going to finish them in 5, which will give them a little rest. And for the Boston-Toronto series, I think Game 6, they're going to finish it up tonight. And that's what I got for Boston. All right, caught up on those things. So first story, we have Nate McMillan fired from his job with the Indiana Pacers. He had been coaching them for 4 years. His overall record was 183 and 136. They did state that he was ranked 3rd in Pacers franchise history with career wins. They said this was a surprising move in this article. I don't think it was a surprising move because we're starting to see this with basketball, and I'm gonna point to this before. I'm gonna point to this when I get to the story because I want to make sure I don't forget it about Steve Nash. But the league is very impatient with who they choose to be impatient with, and that's the nicest way I can say that. The Pacers did give an announcement per Kevin Pritchard stating that they do value his service, his time with the team. They felt it was in the best interest of the organization to go a different direction, and they do value his position as being the coach. I don't think, if I remember right, I don't think they were able to make the playoffs 2 or 3 of the years he was there. But it's also the factor of what happens in the playoffs. But then a lot of it doesn't go on the coach. But again, another spiel, another conversation. So yeah, Nate McMillan was relieved of his duties with the Indiana Pacers. Next up was Brett Brown, which I think everyone saw coming because everyone was trying to figure out the process. I want to say this now before I forget. I do edit or manage a podcast for a friend of mine, and one of the co-hosts on the show, they did state this during one of the recordings and saying that he's likely going to get fired, and literally they fired him like right after that game. So to see it happen I think it was like the next day, but they went ahead and relieved him of his duties. Some people feel like it may be Elton Brand who may need to be let go, but of course getting rid of the GM is very an odd scenario unless it's the owner doing so. Now you come into the infamous carousel of who would be the next coach. They haven't talked about another coach for either of these roles as of yet, but and I don't have this article saved because it literally broke last night and I forgot to add it. I got a whole lot of sports stories, so I didn't want to sport y'all to death, but of course when you haven't done a show in a while and a lot of sports stories hit, you throw what you got as what happened. But Billy Donovan was released from OKC. Early talks are already saying that Chicago may be looking to pick him up as a coach. Wouldn't be surprised. First name they threw out with the 76ers, they say Ty Lue could be a good person to fill that position. They've also, and they keep doing this, and I think it has to stop. I guess that's where I'm going with why I'm being adamant about what I'm about to say. Jay Wright is not going to take a coaching job in the NBA. Jay Wright, the moment Jay Wright takes a coaching job is the day Coach K takes a job. Now I could be wrong. Jay Wright might be surprised and might be intrigued and say, hey, this might be something good to give a try. And he just might give it a go. So we don't know. But I just always love how they always throw Jay Wright in as a possible coaching candidate. When right now, I mean, he's good at Villanova. And we also don't know, because you also got to look at how this upcoming season is going to go, how college basketball is going to go, like a lot of things to think of in that process or in that stage. But yeah, that's mostly the ins and outs of that story. So what I will talk about, and I'm going to give it the attention it needs, but I'm going to also be a little open in dialogue about this a little bit. I'm not going to take a lot of what Stephen A. Smith said, but I am going to use or share thoughts similar to where he's coming from about this, because it's a very intriguing occurrence that this happens. The Brooklyn Nets knocked out first round against Toronto. Stories come up, now it's the question of who's going to be the coach. Now, Jacques Vaughn was initially their interim coach, who they had or an associate coach to just kind of hold the position until they either say, hey, we'll promote you as head coach, which you would think would have been what they would do. But instead, they brought in Steve Nash and made him a coach. And then they put Jacques Vaughn as the assistant coach, which tells me something even more and ties into a fair amount of what Stephen A. Smith was saying in his rant. I'm not going to talk about Stephen A.'s rant like too heavy. I'm just giving it context because it points out something in basketball that you just can't avoid. Majority, if not, I won't say all, but a good amount of players in the NBA are black. most of the coaches are white. Stephen A's thoughts of it is he says it's presented as white privilege. He even came back to reiterate and clear the air on where his statement came from. And I think Mark Stein even put an article out that was stating that the job didn't have anything to do. It had to do more with relationship and less to do with race. So that then came to the circle. I just think Steve Nash may come in and do his thing. But what Stephen A's bringing up and how I'm looking at it is Ty Lue you didn't hear Ty Lue's name come up as a possible candidate. Brian Shaw didn't come up as a candidate. Byron Scott didn't come up as a candidate. I still want to, and I know it's been ignored, but it's something that needs to be looked at. Mark Jackson has not been talked about as a coaching candidate. Maybe Mark Jackson isn't interested in coaching. That could be something that I think us as fans or even analysts, or in my case as a podcast media personnel, it's something that has to be looked at or acknowledged as well. I think he even threw Elgin Baylor's name in there. And I may be freestyle. I think Elgin Baylor is was with Miami because he was an assistant coach and his name never came up. But a lot of guys who could get coaching gigs don't. Shoot, you could even bring Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Sr. in as an option. It's different guys who could be given these positions, but it's also who or what teams are really going after to begin with. I'm gonna say this, and it's something that I think Nash has an edge on, and it's gonna be something that's relevant. And I might have talked about this on a show before. One of the key factors in looking at coaches is relationship to players. Relationship to players in 2020 is a much bigger deal than it was 15, 20 years ago. Players now are very solo practicey. Let me put on my AirPods or let me put on my noise canceling device and let me work on these shooting drills, these running drills, and just focus on what I know. Understandable, cool, great. I got no fights against you on any of that. But I think I even mentioned this to someone before about, and this is my opinion. I'm a little biased, but I've also seen it more consistent in basketball. I personally believe basketball has a bigger brotherhood base presentation, or big brother is more brotherhood based than, or family or team unity than other sports. I'm not saying football isn't. I'm not saying baseball isn't. In football, your lineman can factor in whether the quarterback is going to get hit. Your lineman can be how many seconds from a play getting to a wide receiver, or even if a wide receiver catches the ball, your guys in front of you blocking for you. So those things I'm not taking that out of it. But I think in basketball, it's like you see the true union in its entirety. I mean, in sports, teamwork is important. But I bring all those things into this conversation because I'm even looking at it as Steve Nash coaching Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving alone. Not adding Calvert, not adding, I don't want to say Valentine. I can't remember his name. The different players, Joe Harris, like the different guys they have on their team and the different personalities, and trying to bring that together to win a championship. Because this is the other thing, and I think this gets lost in translation with sports, and maybe it's not meant for me to understand, but it's something that always will intrigue me. You're not playing to just get wins. You're playing to get a championship. Like, we talk, like I think they always joke about Herm Edwards when he makes that reference about you play the game, you play to win the game. You play a sport to win a championship. Now, if you as a fan have your biased views and you look at it as, it's scripted, it's edited, you want to play those cards and games, I got no problem. I just don't see the need of doing that. But in hindsight, you really have to look at it and realize these guys are getting on the court to get a win. Same with football, same with basketball. Same with baseball, same with hockey, et cetera, et cetera. Steve Nash's official press conference was today, or it is today. So by the time you listen to this, they will already have shown it. I mean, the team made the playoffs. They weren't. I think Brooklyn got in as a 7 seed. But even with them getting in as a 7 seed, I mean, you got in as a 7 seed without Durant or without Kyrie. So getting those players to come back and then also possibly running a full season, it draws a higher intrigue. I've said this a few times and I'm still standing behind it. I'm going to be very intrigued to see how this all plays out with the season coming up and how teams are going to be set up. I think they're going to do the distancing or have they're not going to use one place to be the bubble. I think they're going to have multiple hubs or multiple places for guys to play, and you'll likely be able to travel between to play. And unless you keep guys, however you streamline it is where my intrigue heightens a little bit. And it's also, we still have to look at how the pandemic cases or how the coronavirus cases either increase or decrease. So that's what I'm gonna say on that. But with all of that being the case, congrats. Like I say this with all due respect. I definitely welcome or value. It's a great job Steve Nash is joining their coaching staff. He did look to get Dirk Nowitzki on board, but I think Dirk is like, I'm good. I want to take a break from basketball for a little bit. He may join or probably look into that. He may not even want to do coach. Like, I think one player who would be a good player to be a coach but won't do it is Tim Duncan. Rest in peace. I think Kobe would have been a good coach. Kobe, making the streamline he did in women with girls basketball, especially with his daughter. I think it was something there because even when he was doing the series detail, there were a lot of things that he would show in the game that you really weren't. You could look at it and see it in its moment, but to really watch him break it down, you're like, I didn't think of that. I didn't see all that. I just saw guys running and getting the spots, and you're like, pointing out stuff that I didn't even put into perspective. So, I think Nash is going to be he's going to do fine with the job. I just don't understand why, as much as they do this, they don't bring up the other suitors. If they do, we rarely hit a lot of the black coaches get opportunities, especially guys who have played the game or guys who know the game. Like I said, and I'm going to say it and I'm going to leave it be. I still think it's interesting to me that Mark Jackson doesn't have a job despite catapulting Golden State to the point of getting 2 championships before even in the pre-Durant presentation, like with Durant coming there, that just was an added bonus. Okay, let me take that back. 3 championships, excuse me. But being a part of that franchise, he practically was what got them to that point. And here it is now. You don't even hear his name be mentioned as part of that process. Like, they technically, to say without saying, they owe him a ring. And I think people have said that, but I don't want to get too overdosed with that story because I'll probably hang on to this for like the next 20 minutes. I've already talked about the games that have occurred, but I am going to talk about something that was even bigger. Most sports teams did take time to breathe. And we didn't realize the extent of having to breathe until this incident occurred. There was question and concern about how it was done, but I'm going to be 100% honest. There was no right or wrong way of Milwaukee doing what they did. They probably don't have the date specifically of the incident, but in Kenosha, Wisconsin, there were multiple days of boycotting based on Jacob Blake being shot and injured by police officers at the scene. He was the video that surfaced was him walking towards his car, and they were mentioning that there were kids in the car, and he went in the car to get something. I think they were saying he might have had a weapon in the car. Of course, we weren't there, and of course, the police report can give information based on what occurred specifically. But the cops then went on to shoot multiple shots at Mr. Blake. I believe it was 7 shots. And it caused a huge outrage across the board. Players in the WNBA all wore shirts that had multiple bullet holes on the back of them as a form of solidarity. Baseball took a break. Hockey took a break. Basketball took a break. And basketball, how theirs started was very eye-opening, because there was at one point we were hearing that both Boston and Toronto were going to not play game 1, or they were going to postpone game 1 because it was upcoming. Milwaukee and Orlando still had their series going on, but they went ahead and Orlando came out to practice. Milwaukee didn't come out to practice. Milwaukee then did a press run or a press release and confirmed that they were not going to play in that game. So then you have the other 2 games that are set for later on between Houston and OKC, as well as LA, as well as the Lakers and the Blazers. You see Chris Paul and you see Russell Westbrook talk with each other, and they state, they're like, Chris Paul's the president of the National Basketball Players Association, or National Basketball Association Players League, or Players Association, whatever. You have him, step up and mention that they were not playing. Westbrook's on board. Their game get canceled. So the games on that particular day and then the following day were canceled. Story that's not in here that also became a big caused a lot of attention was there was a 17-year-old carrying a AK, and protesters who were out there were attacking, trying to, get this individual's attention, but also attacking him in the process. His act of self-defense was with his gun, in which he killed 2 and injured another. And I'm talking about this not desensitized, but bringing these stories to the forefront, because they definitely tell us that we're in a very tough climate right now. And it's part of why, and I'm probably passing the message way earlier than I normally would, but I'm talking about this because it's really it's in my system, and I'm not, I gotta go where I feel it's right to go. Yes, I got a whole list of tabs and I got a whole bunch of things to talk about, but I want to talk about these stories while while it's fresh on my spirit. We as Black people have to know our worth. And I've talked about this on the last show about valuing your worth. And this is a brief update from that. I'm still working to get my account back on Facebook. I've told anyone who is aware or has been aware, once I get the page back, I'm deactivating it, letting it go, cleaning it, starting over, which I already have. But I'm saying all that to say that we have to know and really realize how important we are as people. Because society, not to be funny, society can give 2 shits about us. And I know I'm, like I said, I'm not here to slide a slippery slope or, facade or make a story seem like something that it's not. I'm just here to present what I feel is real. People are like, there's, Black, there's white, all lives matter, the human race. Blacks matter when it's when it's beneficial to matter. And that has to change. And we have to find a way to make that change, not specifically individually, but as a whole. And we have to find a way to do that. Going back to this story, Adam Silver then presented a statement that stated that there are going to be multiple commitments put in place by the NBA. One, the NBA and its players have agreed to immediately establish a social justice coalition with representatives from players, coaches, and governors that will be focused on a broad range of issues, including increasing access to voting, promoting civic engagement, and advocating the meaningful police and criminal reform. Second factor, in every city where the league franchise owns and controls the arena property, team governors will continue to work with local election officials to convert the facility into a voting location for the 2020 general election to allow for a safe in-person voting option for communities vulnerable to COVID. If a deadline has passed, team governors will work with local elections officials to find another election-related use for the facility, including but not limited to voter registration and ballot receiving boards. The league will work with its players and our network partners to create and include advertising spots in each NBA playoff game dedicated to promoting greater civic engagement in national and local elections and raising awareness around voter access and opportunity. These commitments follow months of close collaboration around designing a safe and healthy environment to restart the NBA season, providing a platform to promote social justice, as well as creating an NBA foundation focused on economic empowerment in the Black community. This is one of many steps. These are the right steps, but this is one of many steps. Because even with opening a venue to be a polling place, you still need people to get out and vote. And I had someone that I am friends with give their case or give their thoughts about elections and voting. And I've heard it multiple times. And I get everyone's perspective about how relevant voting can be, how much of a waste of time it is, how it doesn't matter because I'm just one person. All of those things are fine. But the main thing you have to look at is you have a right to talk about whatever you feel. But if politics comes into play and you haven't voted, your voice is your voice. But I don't listen to it with the same ear. And it's not in a negative connotation. It's just in a realistic, I know what time it is. And I know where you stand. And I'm okay with that. So we just, as people, we really have to do our best to take the election and make it ours. Because, yes, we know the White House is not really Black heavy, but we also know that there are ways to make impacts without directly doing so, even on the House of Reps or on the Senate side. It comes down to just the simple stuff within your own community or within your own town. And if you're happy with the way things are, hey, I'm not knocking it. But it's tough for us to collab when we're all trying to work solo. And that's all I'm going to say on that. But this story did come after the news related to the players all walking out. And it was more so a big story. This then led to TNT being a big face, a big platform, because TNT does show playoff games. And they were doing a TNT segment. Kenny Smith was talking and he gave his thoughts about where he felt, and he walked off set because he looked at it as, if the players are walking out and we're going to be in solidarity, I feel that I should be doing my part in, I shouldn't be here and participating. I need to be finding an answer, finding a way to come to a better place. And I think even in talking about this now, I'm still personally learning ways of how to utilize my personal platform and or creation value in doing what I can to get things in a better place or in the right direction. and that's just kind of what I'm on. So I really hope we see what's going on and we're not ignoring it and just treating it lightly. And that's all I have on that story. Our next story is FaZe has 2 new members. One I thought had been a member for a while, but it turns out he just joined. And the other has a very interesting plot twist that I've talked about in my sports group, and I'm going to kind of bring it up here. So first, Ben Simmons announced that he's joining the gaming squad FaZe Clan. His gamer tag is FaZe Simo, which is his first five letters in his last name. Ben Simmons joined FaZe as a member under the moniker FaZe Simo. Simmons is part of a long list of celebrity investors in FaZe, including the likes of Pitbull, Offset, pro skateboarder Nyjah Hudson, and fellow NBA players Jamal Murray and Myers Leonard. Terms of Simmons' investment were not disclosed. It's important to add that, and you'll see why in a second. The connection between FaZe and Simmons isn't a new one. The NBA star has frequently been seen wearing FaZe gear and hanging out with team members. Earlier this year, he appeared on the cover of Slam magazine alongside FaZe and Temper. Gaming is an important part of my life, and so it was a natural progression to personally invest in this industry. Simmons said in a statement, FaZe Clan represents the pinnacle of the gaming culture, and I am really looking forward to connecting with new fans around the globe. For the uninitiated, FaZe Clan is something of a cross between esports organization, clothing brands, and creators group. It operates professional teams in games like Fortnite and Valorant. Is home to some of the biggest names on Twitch and YouTube, and has had apparel partnerships with brands like Champion, Kappa, and Manchester City. Recently, FaZe has started expanding into a more traditional environment with the launch of a film and TV studio and plans for future-length movies starring team members. Props to Ben Simmons for this change and transition into this new role. Can't believe we're like 40 minutes into this, but I also haven't recorded in a while, so it's me still trying to learn my management of time. And also remember how to drink water again. This story, this other part of it, of the other side of the FaZe story, is why I really wanted to get into this. Esports and gaming organization FaZe Clan has announced high school basketball recruit Bronny James Jr. will join their organization. The news is posted via 2 FaZe Clan tweets on Saturday afternoon, and this article was written back on August 30th. On Sunday afternoon, with one including a hype video featuring basketball highlights of Bronny James, the son of LA star LeBron James, as well as highlights from video games, namely Fortnite and Call of Duty Modern Warfare. A highly touted high school player, Bronny James is number 24 in ESPN's 2023 recruiting rankings. The younger James is also an avid gamer, having played Fortnite with FaZe Clan creators in the past. As I mentioned, Ben Simmons joined early in the week. They go over some of the athletes who are part of this group. In the past week, more prominent artists made esports investments public. Okay, so they answer my question. They don't disclose whether terms are involved with his acquisition. Is he just going to be doing this pro bono? Because if he is, that's fine. If he's not, then you go into the slippery slope of your sponsorships and whether this is something that you're allowed to do and things of that nature. So I just want to make sure that was covered and it doesn't affect him on that level, because that's the last thing he would need or anyone would need for that matter. So just something that kind of crossed my mind when I was sitting here reading this. I was like, let me make sure that this doesn't affect him as a brand, per se, or as a possibility of going to college. Because I think the story has been looming back and forth of whether the NBA is going to do away with the one and done rule. It hasn't been said that they are. It also hasn't been said that they're not. But then you also have to look at what could happen in the next collective bargaining agreement. So all of those things come into play as well. Lionel Messi fooled us all, pulled wool over our eyes, and basically decided to stay in Barcelona. He was initially up for talks to go to multiple teams. I still believe why the move didn't happen was because of money. Whichever team was looking to get him would have had to pay a 700 million euro buyout or something like. They would have to cover the buyout because he's technically still under contract with them until next year. Now, this also then brings up a good question. Will we be hearing this conversation again next year? Because it doesn't seem as though he's leaving the team, at least for this season. He returned to training with Barcelona on Monday, almost 2 weeks after he told the club he wanted to leave. He reluctantly changed his mind. He was back with the team to prepare for a new season. The club said he practiced separately from the rest of the squad because he still needs to undergo a second coronavirus test before rejoining teammates. Messi said last week he wasn't happy with Barcelona, but would rather stay than to get into a legal battle with the club of his life. Messi wanted to leave for free, but the Catalan club said the contract clause he invoked had already expired, so he has to stay at least until the end of his contract in June of next year. Messi told Barcelona he wanted to leave on August 25th and had not reported for the squad's required coronavirus testing a week ago. He also had not showed up when his teammates resumed training last week. The Spanish league begins this weekend, but Barcelona will not start a season until the end of the month with a home game against Villarreal. Messi was one of the first to arrive at the team's training center in Barcelona on Monday. He was expected to personally meet with incoming coach Ronald Koeman for the first time. He replaced Setien after the team's embarrassing 8-2 loss to Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals back on August 14th. The Dutch coach called Messi shortly after the loss and was informed by the Argentina star he wasn't expecting to stay. Messi Club president Joseph Bartomeu later said that keeping Messi was a priority as Koeman's project revolved on the player. Messi complained to Bartomeu after announcing he would stay, saying the president didn't keep his word to let him leave after the season. Messi said he told Bartomeu he wanted to leave several times during the season. And they give a couple more pieces of information on that. So it's good that he's staying. It's nothing to really get too worked up about in regards to it, but it was just kind of like that. We need to make sure he's actually going to stay and not roll out on us unexpectedly. So it's good that he's got he will be there at least for this upcoming season. Now I put this in my show notes on Workflowy, which if you're not using Workflowy to organize, you're doing it wrong. I need to use my Workflowy more often, but I don't because I'm always doing to-do lists in other places, but that's neither here nor there. Got to start with me. That also kind of goes into something I'm still pushing off on a separate combo. But Will Wade, who is with LSU, is in a battle with LSU and with the NCAA. This is a very heavy story because of the amount of criticism that has come with this and the fact that he still has a job with LSU despite this happening. Any other coach were to have gone through this, they would be out of a job easily. I think it's because he's Will Wade, but I also think it's because he's at LSU, who has a pretty decent basketball team and also has a pretty top-notch football team. And that's what's kind of covering him in this process. Despite producing more than a half dozen very, very problematic headlines in approximately 22 months, Will Wade remains the basketball coach at LSU. He's like a battered South Louisiana shack that somehow keeps surviving every storm roaring in on the Gulf of Mexico. Except Wade is his own storm creator. Even within the brass knuckles recruiting world of the Southeastern Conference, where 4 basketball programs are currently under NCAA investigation, Wade is reveled by his peers as a next-level cheater. but a bad reputation and bad publicity haven't yet pierced the Baton Rouge bubble to the point of costing him a job. In fact, the word that was tossed around in 3 different Wade-related conversations was confident, as in LSU officials are confident that Wobbly Will can survive yet another swirling tempest. The latest came Wednesday, courtesy of a document written by NCAA Director of Enforcement John Duncan that said his staff received information that Mr. Wade arranged for, offered, and/or provided impermissible payments, including cash payments, to at least 11 men's basketball prospective student athletes, their family members, individuals associated with the prospects, and/or non-scholastic coaches in exchange for the prospects' enrollment at LSU. I don't know why I almost said VCU. Yes, he was a coach at VCU, but this did not happen with VCU. There's a difference between receiving information and issuing formal allegations, of course, but still, 11 players, that number jumps off the screen, especially when you consider Wade has been at LSU for only 3 seasons and you consider every other blast of bad press he's gotten in that time. As far as what's out there in the public record for Will Wade, I think of Desi Arnaz saying, "You've got some splaining to do," said Atlanta-based story Stu Brown, who has represented coaching clients in many NCAA infractions cases. Wade's past explanations have ranged from non-existent to comically weak. Nevertheless, school officials are still propping up Wobbly Will. They seem to believe that the NCAA's long-running but still expanding case against the coach will blow harmlessly out to sea. Wade has had his phone records subpoenaed by the feds. He's been recorded by FBI wiretaps talking in rather brazen terms about at least 2 players, Balsa Koprivica and Javonte Smart, with agent runner Christian Dawkins, who was making cash deals for recruits nationwide. One conversation was detailed in federal court, second in a Yahoo Sports story. He's refused his superior's order for a sit-down meeting to discuss said wiretap. He's endured a suspension for that and a reworked contract. He's attempted a wildly unconvincing explanation of himself at SEC spring meetings. And then in the spring, everyone got to hear the actual audio of the infamous strong-ass offer wiretap as part of an HBO documentary about Dawkins. I'm not going to read the rest of this article because it's just kind of mainly pointing out everything that's happened. But, dude, you knew what you... Like, come on now. Y'all can't sit here and act like this ain't a real thing. You knew... Y'all... You know what time it is. Like, just own up to it so they can get it going. But it's even worse because they're having delays in dealing with it because he hasn't abided by what the NCAA needs and just sitting and putting it. He doesn't want it on paper or on tape, even though they already have it on tape. That's the nicest way to say it. But hey, when it's millions of dollars involved and SEC schools involved or big time programs, it's moved a little different. And that's all I'm gonna say on that. Someone shared this story with me, and because it was shared, I always like to definitely, bring attention to stories that are a real deal, because this is definitely a story that should not be treated lightly. This story is about the team. Oh no, I don't have access to the article. No. Okay, we're going to do this then because nothing's going to stop me. Del Loy Hansen is his name. I hope I can get to this. Vertical. 1 second, y'all. My bad. I'm usually on top of things like this. It's probably okay. Cool. Send me to ESPN. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so I just got an interesting. New York City will resume indoor dining in restaurants at 25% capacity on September 30th, ending a 6-month ban over coronavirus concerns. Wow, that's pretty big. Ooh. All right, well, we're going to just go ahead and give this story because this looks like it's going to be the bigger deal of this, and it will tell why he's doing this. So Del Loy Hansen is going to sell Real Salt Lake and the Utah Royals. Major League Soccer announced on Sunday that Dale Lloyd Hansen intends to sell the Real Salt Lake FC, National Women's Soccer League side Utah Royals FC, and the United Soccer League Championship Real Monarchs. That might be Real because I think if they're going with the soccer theme. Hansen has been under pressure since a report from The Athletic detailed his repeated use of racist language to and in front of team employees. The report came on the heels of Hansen's reaction to Wednesday's MLS player-led walkout in protest of racial injustice. The protest led to a postponement of 5 matches, including Wednesday's match between RSL and LAFC scheduled for Rio Tinto Stadium. A source with knowledge of the situation said that while MLS Commissioner Don Garber and Hansen had spoken multiple times over the last several days, Hansen arrived at his decision to sell on his own. Major League Soccer has been informed that Real Salt Lake investor-operator Dale Lloyd Hansen has decided that he will begin a process to sell Utah Soccer Holdings, the entity that owns Real Salt Lake MLS and Utah Royals FC and Real Monarchs. MLS will still work with Mr. Hansen. MLS will work with Mr. Hansen on supporting the sale efforts for the company and will work closely with the club's executive staff to support the operations of the team during the transition period. I want to see. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna go to what was actually said. During an interview on Thursday, a Hansen-owned radio station, KXRK, Hansen spoke of the protests as being like somebody stabbed you and you're trying to figure out a way to pull the knife out and move forward. That's what it feels like. The disrespect is profound to me personally. In a subsequent interview with ESPN 700, which Hansen also owns, the RSL owner walked back some of the comments and apologized to Garber. However, the Athletic report led to calls from around the MLS and NWSL that Hansen should be forced to sell his teams. Both MLS and NWSL announced on Thursday that they would be conducting investigations into his behavior. MLS could have forced Hansen to sell the side, but it was unclear whether a similar mechanism existed within the NWSL. So yeah, that's mainly the ins and outs of that story. Just nasty. Crazy on every level. All right, so we have a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna try to run through these as best as I can. I don't want to rush them either. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War did show their new video, and it did tease one of the weapons that can be used. It shows a screenshot of an AK-47. It's one day away from a full multiplayer reveal. Although there is still tons to be discovered come the full announcement, the official Call of Duty Twitter has been leaking. Now this is actually, so we're going to get the full multiplayer likely today or tomorrow, which has been leaking information through several countdown videos. Yesterday, the Twitter feed revealed the return of the RCXD, a fan favorite kill streak from the first Black Ops title. Today, the clip revealed something more hands-on and practical, confirming the return of an era favorite weapon to the multiplayer game mode. The clip cycles through several clips confirming the addition of the AK-47 to Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. This fan favorite weapon has been a staple of warfare for the Call of Duty franchise well before the first Black Ops game. The weapon is known for being a high-powered rifle that finds its strength in long and medium range, making it a generalized weapon for most engagements. Historically, the gun has been the weapon of choice for enemy troops throughout the Call of Duty franchise, including Al-Qatala from Modern Warfare. Although the weapon is favored by enemies in campaigns, multiplayer fans still tend to find a good use for the gun in certain loadout builds. And they give a little bit more information about that. So we do expect Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War to be released on November 13th to PC, PS4, Xbox One, with PS5 and Xbox Series X versions also in development. We're going to give it 2 years because this is an early projection, but in 2 years we will likely see the demise or the end of games. You're going to see games start to not be developed for Xbox One and PlayStation 4. It's early, but it's something that they always do. Once they have their new system on the market, then it's kind of like that. Let's ease you into this new system, which is always an indifferent scenario because then your hand is slightly pushed to buy the new console, even though you may not play the new console because you like the older games better. Super Mario Brothers 35 is going to be a game that I am going to be playing as soon as it releases. I believe the release date is going to be on October 1st. It has a Tetris 99 feel to it, but the game it's a battle royale, but as the title states, it is a very creative idea that I think is going to get the attention of a lot of Super Mario heads. So Nintendo Direct did a presentation where they announced multiple games celebrating Mario's 35th birthday. The most intriguing was Mario Bros. 35. It's a battle royale style re-imaging of the original Super Mario Bros. Game. 35 players battle to be the last one standing. Based on the key art from the game, it looks like each player runs through a level and defeats enemies, sending them to another player's level. Something that could get pretty overwhelming and completely change the way you attack a given level. Naturally, there are special items that can help you along the way as well. Like the Tetris 99 Royale battle game, Super Mario Bros. 35 doesn't cost anything to play, but you do need a subscription to Nintendo's Switch online service. As for when we'll get to check this re-imaging out, it will be available on October 1st. Switch Online subscribers are getting another piece of Mario content today as well, which is the original Super Mario All-Stars for the Super NES. It's coming to Switch Online library of classic games. The game included 16-bit remasters of the original 3 Mario games for the NES, as well as Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, which is beneficial in hindsight because these games are those games that you find these renditions of this game on Mario Maker 2, which I think is awesome. The last title is the direct sequel to the original Super Mario Bros., but ramps up the difficulty significantly. If you want a platform challenge, this game will certainly test your skills. It'll be a good companion to the just announced Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which collects 3 of the best known 3D Mario adventures. And they just give a correction on that. Our next story is one that I always love when it brings about the nostalgic conversation of some sorts. Baby's Fisher-Price gamepad has the ability to accept the Konami code. When you enter the Konami code, it adds like another little tone at the end when using it. And the parent is able to test it out by doing the infamous code, which if any of you do or do not know or have never heard of it, it is up, down, left, right, BA. And when you do this combination, it makes like a little sound effect. There's no start button. That's when the controller erupted into sound. A Mario jump, a Mario mushroom power up, a Mario coin, you win, it declared. Or it made a statement, you win. I'm gonna see if you may be able to hear it during this show.
So here is a new Fisher-Price video game controller thing for the kiddies.
It's probably too long.
Got for my daughter. It's got the usual things. You press buttons and it says stuff. And it says numbers and colours and stuff. But amazingly, if you put in the Konami code, so that's up, down, left, right, BA, you beat the game. Awesome.
So this is something that they had a little fun sharing, and I thought it was cool. It was just something like random that I found while looking up some stories for the show. We have I'll give a quick back hit on music, and then we'll go into. There aren't any asses of the week. We have more passes of the week or the past few weeks. And that'll kind of close us out. And then I have a message, hopefully, that I can pass. Well, yeah, I'm gonna use. I got it. I'm good. I'm thinking out loud as y'all, as most people know me for being well known for doing. Big Sean's new album came out. Haven't had a chance to listen to it. SZA has a new song with Tyga. I'm sorry, not Tyga. Ty Dolla called "Hit Different." Pretty dope single. Let me see, because a lot of music came out, and some of it I didn't even have a chance to like go back and spin. Van Jess has a new single called "Come Over" that a friend of mine shared, and I actually had heard already, but I love it, and that's a good single to check out. Tekashi 6ix9ine's album came out. Yeah, that's all I got on that. It didn't really do a high hit for me. Skip Marley has a new album, Higher Place. I may listen to that over the next few days. Celia has an album called Tiwa Savage. Tony Braxton's new album, Say My Name. If you have not had a chance, please listen to that album. You will not be disappointed. And those are all of the albums that I can think of that I've listened to. I've not listened to Black Puma's album yet, Deluxe. Kim has a new album called Love Always Wins. Shows how much playing I have not been doing. So got quite a bit to jam on. BTS dropped a new single, Dynamite, which I did briefly get to listen to. Thought it was pretty good. So yeah, that's that. All right. Sad time, but I'm not going to make it too sad and too out of pocket. But I do want to share these stories while I have them. First and foremost, rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman. Great individual, awesome human being. I never personally met him, obviously, but just in his demeanor and just a lot of the things he did, he never moved wrong, at least from what I've observed. You really learned how the term not moving wrong was a real thing, especially in him doing, he was singing the song Grandma's Hands by Bill Withers. Bill Withers had passed and he was singing that song. And I was like, I can't hear this song the same. And it's tough because I've shared this before, but I'll share it now. I did work on 2 playlists for my birthday. I'm gonna be blunt because y'all know I always keep it real. I only made it on Spotify, so I don't have it for Apple Music and for Tidal. I wish I did, but maybe I may collab with someone and figure out how to get playlists over to those platforms. We'll see. But with all of that being said, one of the songs on there was Grandma's Hands, and when I got the news about him passing, I didn't know how to respond. I didn't know really what to do. And it was tough because, you're getting that type of news. You're still having to go through your regular routine. You're having to go to a job, communicate and talk with people. Like all of those things had crossed my mind at that point. Lupita Nyong'o, I'm hoping I pronounced that right, shared a very touching message that I will share at the end. That's going to be the pass the message piece. But I did want to talk about him passing, and I send my prayers and condolences to his family. He did die due to colon cancer, stage 3. So it's definitely not something that I was expecting to read or get information on, but this was it happened, and here we are. Clifford Robinson also passed, and I didn't put an article for it. Lute Olson also passed, who was the head coach for Arizona basketball. He did win a championship for Arizona. They won a championship under him, I believe, in the late 90s. I think Mike Bibby was there, Miles Simon. He was a very high-profile coach, and his passing definitely hit very abruptly. Clifford Robinson passed at the age of 53. He did play for UConn from 85 to 89. He was drafted by the Blazers in 89. He took them to the finals in 90 and 92. And in 93, he was named Sixth Man of the Year. He made his only All-Star appearance in 94, which shows you how high quality, because, I mean, he was a pretty good player. He was kind of in that position of introducing the somewhat stretch big as a thing, because he was a guy who was a forward, but could check most guards or could play as a guard. And he also could, he was very physical. I always remember watching a lot of his games, especially playing against Chicago. They did confirm that his cause of death was due to lymphoma. Anyone that watched the game always knew him as Uncle Cliffy. He had averaged, for his career, he averaged 16 points a game, totaled over 3,300 rebounds, and had 1,350 assists. And these were all while he was with the Trailblazers. I did play for other teams as well, but that was kind of his main team that anyone, if you ever heard anyone mention Cliff Robinson, you always thought of the Trailblazers and just how he was in playing the game and how he carried himself. He dealt with several medical issues over the past few years, including a brain hemorrhage in 2018. Despite all the adversity, he remained positive, and the outpouring support from him was palpable. And like I said, rest easy, big fella. Like that's really all I can give a say on that portion. Final pass of the week, or the pass of this time period. First black coach to win an NCAA championship, John Thompson Jr. dies at the age of 70, passed at the age of 78 years old, or 78 years young. He passed in his home in Arlington, Virginia. He had been suffering from multiple health challenges. They have not given his cause of death, at least in this article. He coached at Georgetown for 27 years. Anyone that talks about him knows about the towel. He would always wear the towel around his neck. He was more of the laid back, dressed down, I'm here for business, less work type of coach. He did state, they did give a message saying, I was very proud of winning the national championship, and I was very proud of the fact that I was a Black American. But I didn't like it that the statement was implied that I was the first Black person who had intelligence enough to win a national championship. I might have been the first Black person who was provided with an opportunity to compete for this prize, that you have discriminated against thousands of my ancestors to deny them this opportunity. Those two quotes confirm John Thompson in a nutshell. He was one of the most blunt yet respectful personnel in the game of basketball. I mentioned this early on about Kobe and his way of doing detail. If you can find any videos of John Thompson doing color commentary for a basketball game, there are things that you don't learn from X's and O's that he was able to break down on a whole different level from just watching him talk about the game as it was played. And that little things like that, I will always respect. I respect him as a coach. I mean, coaching at Georgetown, and I mean, you really got to think about it. He coached Alonzo Mourning. He coached Dikembe Mutombo. He coached one of the biggest first number one picks ever in Patrick Ewing. He coached Allen Iverson, which we know Allen Iverson will always give John Thompson his credit, because if it wasn't, like he literally says, there would be no John Thompson if it wasn't for there would be no Allen Iverson if it wasn't for John Thompson. But he handled and carried the game the right way. And that's not, that's never to say that others didn't do it. But for him, he just was a talent in his own form. So, he's definitely gonna be missed, but as we learn and as the message states, man, the legacy lives on. So I got a few minutes. I have a message that I'm gonna pass. I'm going to read, before I forget, a very touching piece that really ties into everything that could be said, let alone not be ignored. And I want to make sure that I don't say the name wrong, because I'm known for doing that. Lupita Nyong'o shared her thoughts on Chadwick Boseman's passing. She put a very detailed message, which I initially just kind of read through and kept going. But for the end of this show, this is gonna be the message that I'm gonna pass along, and this is gonna also tie into the title of the show. I write these words from a place of hopelessness to honor a man who had great hope. I am struggling to think and speak about my friend Chadwick Boseman in the past tense. It doesn't make sense. The news of his passing is a punch to my gut every morning. I am aware that we are all mortal, but you come across some people in life that possess an immortal energy that seem like they have existed before, that are exactly where they are supposed to be, always be, here. That seem ageless. Chadwick was one of those people. Chadwick was a man who made the most of his time, and somehow also managed to take his time. I didn't know him for long, but he had a profound effect on me in the time that I did. When we came together to make Black Panther, I remember being struck by his quiet, powerful presence. He had no airs about him, but there was a higher frequency that he seemed to operate from. You got the sense that he was fully present and also somehow fully aware of things in the distant future. As a result, I noticed that Chadwick never seemed rushed. He commanded his time with ease, and he put in the work with all of us. He showed up to every rehearsal and training and shoot day with his game face on. He was absorbent, agile. He set the bar high by working with a generosity of spirit, creating an ego-free environment by sheer example, and he always had a warm gaze and a strong embrace to share. His large hands would descend on my shoulders and give them a squeeze that relieved me of the tensions I did not realize I was holding. Chadwick's hands were strong enough to carry the weight of the film and free enough to clasp mine when I needed it. He was impeccable with his words. I never heard him complain. And there were definitely some things worth complaining about. I think he understood the power of words and chose to manifest power through his word. He used his mouth to build, to edify, never to break. And he used it to tell some regrettably lame dad jokes. He practiced not going against himself. He seemed to really love himself. He expressed who he really was, even when it meant he didn't smile when you thought he should. He accepted himself. And perhaps that's why he was capable of loving so many so deeply. And he used his body in every way he could. He did his own stunts, drummed at his own parties, danced many a night away, mastered martial arts. The list goes on. He loved, honored, and respected that body, doing more with it than most. In so doing, he took the risk to be alive, fully alive. So it seems that it was life that gave up on Chadwick long before Chadwick gave up on life. When I was around Chadwick, I wanted to be better, less petty, more purposeful. He was fueled by love, not fear. He moved quietly, deliberately, and without imposing himself or his ideas on others. And yet, he also made damn sure that his life meant something. He was unwavering about that. He cared so deeply about humanity, about Black people, about his people. He activated our pride. By pushing through and working with such high purpose in the films he chose to commit to, Chadwick has made the infinite his home. We are all changed by his work. We are all charged by his work as a result, by his presence in our lives. His power lives on, and will reverberate for generations to come. He used his life force to tell meaningful stories, and now we tell his. Chadwick's death is something that I can neither take in nor take in my stride right now. Perhaps with time, I'm going to take my time. And in his honor, I promise not to waste my time. I hope you all will do the same. My deepest condolences to his family, friends, and to his loving wife, Simone, from who I heard the phrase articulated so resonantly. Take your time, but don't waste your time. As you can read in the title, I put the initials. Take your time, but don't waste your time. We all get one life, and we all should live it to the best of our ability. I really hope that this podcast, this episode, touches someone. I hope you, if anything, I hope you made it this far through the show, because this is what I always am here to do, is give a good message or a good gem for somebody to like get through whatever or however life is carrying them. I'm gonna give this one last story, and then I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up. When getting the notification or getting the information about his passing, I didn't know what to do. And there was a lot of studying that I was supposed to work on. There were a lot of things that I really had plans to push through and get achieved. And I couldn't. And I kind of boxed myself in a little bit because of some me being a techie and messing with stuff. But I made it a goal, and I have since coming home, it's been priority number one. I went out this was one of my first summers one of my first birthdays in a while that I really did do like a self-care of just getting away, clearing my head, leveling out, just chilling. And in doing so, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my cousin. I learned a lot about family. I literally did a lot of learning that I was capable of learning before, but I think I wasn't open to putting my mind towards the learning. Now I'm like, we here. Let's get it popping. Let's get it going. And I've come back, and I've literally been making it my goal to not waste time. Because I looked at, I'm like, my podcast, I initially was planning to, if you go back and really look at it, Friday I was planning on just going out of town. Saturday I was going to come back, rushing to doing a podcast. And then I was like, nah, relax. And I hadn't even seen her press statement or her message. Something told me about something. Something hit. Let me not be in a rush to get back home. Let me take a day and just chill. And literally the second day that I was there, I chilled, I rested, I felt relaxed. I got through my day. It was a little bump in the road of trying to go play pool, but life happens. We get it. But I still had a decent. I made the most of my time. And when I came back, I focused on what I was trying to get done, which is get these programs installed, which I did. And I've been, in any small way that I can, working on a design, being creative, using my talents. I'm still trying to get projects done or want to get projects done for others, but of course, it's about finding that opportunity, that point of actually sitting down and, hey, let's work on it. But of course, you got to let everything kind of go through its motions. But I'm just sharing that or talking about that now because we really have to value our time here. Because we really don't know when our last day is. And he made it clear about the importance of living your life. He lived his life to the fullest, and we should be doing the same. And I don't want this to be just I'm going to say this in a message and that's it. Like, I'm pushing to get more podcasts. That's why I mean, like I said, I think it was something that came up as an idea after getting that news, but it's something that I really considered anyway, is really pushing to like make the podcast be my baby and be my thing, because I love sitting down here and recording. I love sitting down here having these conversations and just of talking about what life brings and where life where life carries you and where you meant to go. So that's all I got. I hope that's a good message. I hope you all enjoy your day, enjoy your week. My birthday babies, all my Virgo loves, my Virgo huns, my Virgo brothers, Virgo sisters, like, y'all know I got y'all. Like, whatever I can try to do, man, I'm here. Like, Lord knows I'm here, man. I'm definitely, all about just trying to be a better me for myself and for y'all. I told this to a friend of mine personally, and I'm telling everybody this now. And this is kind of like my new way of living it out, is if I have the ability to do it, I don't want to see any of my fellow kings or queens fail or fall. So you do with those words as you will. And on that note, this is The Pass. I am your host, BT. The next episode is the one, episode 300. I still unreal. Still can't believe we're here, or practically here. And it should be a fun show. I'm looking forward to it, because it's gonna be sports or stuff heavy, but it's gonna really be like a genuine timeline of what I've experienced. And I'm definitely making it my goal to like present it as such, because literally and I'm saying this and then I'm gonna shut up. When I first did podcasting, it was just me messing around, like, all right, I'm gonna get a mic. Okay, we go talk, do some shows, cool. But getting people to actually sit with me and talk, or having even in the period that I had Dimitri as a co-host, like, I was literally just like, it's gonna just be me. It's gonna just be this show, and we're gonna rock. Now, I'm so comfortable with doing this that I don't even like. Guest, no guest, co-host, solo dolo, B-mic, whatever. I'm ready. It has been that kind of journey with doing a podcast as well as life. And I'm definitely going to, as I'm known to do, unpack and break down the timeline. So definitely lock in for 300. I'm gonna just send you on this ride, man. And I hope y'all really look, prepare for that show. But I'm going to close out here. Like I said, check me out, The Pass BT Pod, all platforms. I'm going to be changing that soon on the intro and outro. I'll figure out a way to do that. But anywho, y'all take it easy. Really appreciate all the support, all the listens, all the likes, all the effort that goes into anyone who has provided any form of content for The Pass. We're signing out now, but you definitely don't want to miss what's in store for the upcoming episode. If you are interested in getting more information or becoming a podcaster, you can check out buzzsprout.com. And the microphone that you are hearing me use is the Blue Yeti X. I had been using a Yeti for a while. I went back to the Samson Meteor, but now I'm using the Blue Yeti X, which is everything. Trust me. All social medias, The Pass BT. That's THE Pass, as in pass the ball. BT is my initials. And finally, if you are a creator and you want to support a fellow creator, subscribe, like, and comment on The Pass. Until next time, this is your host BT signing out.